Looking on into this dreary day, it's not hard to imagine a lesser built vehicle getting stuck in that snowdrift that I just came out of. You can kind of see how wet it is seeing my tracks go up that road. It's very soggy, just inches beneath this soil. With the amount of recreators and people that like to come out to the woods, not everybody has a purpose-built sort of mountain rig. And I want to kind of go over a LifeGear product, their Wings of Life bag, with you, just to kind of add some insight. Well, guys, as the clip shows you, I decided to bring it back here to the compound. The wind noise is getting a little crazy out there in the mountains, and I was afraid you couldn't hear me. So, as you can see, this is a well-worn and well-carried LifeGear backpack. And as I started to mention, you know, there's many times that you're going to be out enjoying outdoors, emergencies at the office, things that you're not quite prepared for, that, you know, something like this is going to come in handy. I will put a link up here to the sort of shoebox kit that turns into a fanny pack if you needed to. This has very similar stuff. This has a little bit more items in it, but is nonetheless a very capable kit. It is very surprising that this backpack unit here was actually more comfortable to carry on some of my testing than another one that I won't mention. You know, it's got very good foam padding. As you can see, it's a little dirty and dusty from being out there. Yes, I did use this as a day pack wandering around. It's a little obnoxious for sort of day-to-day outings, just due to the color and the overall, you know, purpose of this thing is for emergency use. It does have a reflective strip here. Has a little bit of shock cordage if you are getting overheated, perhaps hiking out of the city area during an emergency. You know, you can stuff in all sorts of stuff into there. It does have little mesh pockets here. Main kind of disappointment, which I'm not sure the initial reasoning for that is, many of us carry a Nalgene or Nalgene style water bottle. These will not fit an Nalgene water bottle. If you look at my review for the Stanley will fit in here. It's a little bit narrow body, but because the Nalgene is such an industry standard, I'm surprised they didn't go with it. My main thinking behind the reason they had a little bit smaller is because typically in an emergency or offices, people carry bottled water, and a bottled water will fit in there, like the ones you get, you know, the flat at Costco for $3 or whatever that they hand out during emergencies, are generally those smaller little 12-ounce bottles, and that does fit that. Personally, I would have liked to seen them fit a Nalgene just for an industry standard is what would fit in there. There is the little compass, whistle, magnifying glass, thermometer combo. This thing works great. I've had a very similar one for years. I'm sure they're all made by the same manufacturer. Some of you guys know I use the compass a lot of times to get a up close on here, or the magnifying glass, excuse me. Temperature is always good to know. Little rubber key here to unzip. And then the wings of life is what this is referred to, because a lot of the items are stored here in the wings that unfold. Again, you get more shock cordage. As you can see, the wings keep this nice and clean. It's got more reflective here. We'll just kind of go into this left wing here. The Wings of Life in here is a little notebook. It's a little dirty because I've kind of been using it, but it just helps jot down some ideas that we'll go through in a second. My only downside is it won't open all the way. The hinge stops about here. If you try to open it all the way, it basically just pops right off. So that was kind of a downer. You just have to be careful. It pops right back in. You just have to be careful not to unfold it all the way. But it does kind of sit in your hand arched like that. That's what I keep in that upper zipper area. Here is the thermal blanket. The one thing I didn't really do was go through this. When you guys watched that other link I put up, I basically spent 72 hours using nothing but that shoebox kit at the time. So I know what it's like. I know I can go through the food and the water. There's the emergency blanket here. It does have a signaling mirror, which is like a polycarbonate mirror. Still works great, works better for not just signaling, but identifying wounds, you know, finding stuff that's in your eye, things like that. Going to the other side I actually don't have anything stored in here. You can keep spare keys, all sorts of good stuff in that little pocket. Again, the zippers, never had an issue with those. In this little thing here, you will find a very small sort of multi-tool, typical stuff: screwdrivers, can openers, little file, small knife, and a spring-loaded needle nose. These aren't something you're going to hard use every day, but you know, if you're not carrying a multi-tool on you on your EDC and you're going to need it, it certainly works for that. Waterproof poncho. I mentioned this in that other review I did. I think they have one of the better little disposable, quote unquote, waterproof ponchos. The material is quite a bit thicker, and certainly, you know, everyone starts to think about emergencies kind of the wrong way, like, oh, what are we going to eat or whatever. Well, if you don't have water, you know, that's a couple days, you're going to be thirsty. I understand that. If you get hypothermic, it could be hours. So keeping yourself dry during, you know, hurricane season, all that kind of stuff is very important. A silly little poncho can be, you know, way more valuable than all sorts of other kit, just to keep you dry and warm. Small little boo-boo kit, first aids, little band-aids, and things that you guys are pretty familiar with. The very top here does have a sort of bike style light, and it does blink. It has several blinky modes: slow, fast, left to right. It is removable. You can clip it onto a belt if you decide to get rid of the backpack, or put this at the road if you're off the road for whatever reason, as a signaling or marker device. It is protected behind a little bit of plastic here, but it is quite removable and quite bright, very similar to any sort of tail light on your bicycle. And I'll get the camera repositioned and we'll look to see what's inside. Alright, get you swung around there. They have what they call a document bag. It's obviously this LifeGear on it, has little holding tabs there. It's like a big heavy-duty Ziploc bag, and I find it perfect to hold the maps I get from the Forest Service that are gridded. They're perfectly square. You may be able to hold other documents, things you want to keep in there as an emergency, backup information. I usually have been using it for a map, to kind of keep my map waterproof in there, and to let everyone know where I'm going. And it offers enough information here without having to get into it and refold it of the area that I'm in. So I gotta say, it has worked flawlessly. The one thing I did not try is the dust mask, but it's nice to have, to know it's in there. The tarp has come in handy a few times. As you can see, it's a little dirty, but you know, very typical small, you know, blue tarp, ground mat over the head cover. My one thing that I'll get to in a second here is some things I would add to the kit, but the only cordage you have on this bag are these little shock cords. So if you were going to set up a tarp, you would have to do it sort of improvise. You wouldn't have no way to make a ridge line to make yourself a shelter to keep you out of the rain, unless you just threw this over your head or over your car and basically kind of improvise. So although this is meant to be a just all set, ready to go kit, when you actually try to use some of these things, you kind of find some of their you know, kinks in the armor, if you will. These are meant to be sort of a one-time use kit. I understand that. I would recommend upgrading the gloves just a little bit. I basically try to move the tires in my garage around after the season changeover, and as you can see, this part separated here, and the other one I think I had a little bit worse. Oh, the side here basically just started opening along the seam, and this was you know, maybe 2 uses. I moved some tires around in my garage, trying to keep the black off my hands at the time, and I got some firewood that I loaded into the house, and the side here started to edge up. Now the leather palms are still intact. It's just where the leather meets the material that I was having some issues with, and again, it would work in a pinch, but more than one use, and I think you'll be wishing you had a little bit better quality gloves. So I'd recommend looking into that. Alright, last but not least in here is what they call their 3-day survival kit. You can purchase this just separately if you'd like from their site. You can get all the little components to this bag separately if you just see something particular that you want to add to it. But this is their 3-day survival kit. In here is their little hygiene kit. You guys, if you watched my 3-part series of the last kit I did on LifeGear, you know, I got to use the soap and do all that stuff. Just, it's a nice comfort item to have, something that a lot of kits might not include. Again, the emergency water in here. I tested this through the winter, and I'll try to insert some photos and some also testing just in the old household freezer. I tried putting a pouch of water in the freezer and compared to a like a cooler ice thing that you know, throw in the freezer to keep your food cold when you're out camping. Those froze quicker. Now they're designed to do that, but I had this thing in the snow, and it took a couple nights before it froze up. I was very quick to thaw, and and I was very impressed. It was one of the things I've always worried about, is these little pouches in a winter scenario, how well they would hold up, because if your car is going to freeze and you can't get water out of here, that'll be an issue. Underneath your 3 days worth of water, which is 6 pouches, you get a pouch per day, is a little mainstay ration. You get 9 bars, 3 bars per day, get you 3 days worth of food at your 3,600 calories. So that's basically it. It's a neat little kit. You can piece together yourself, or you can purchase here. As I mentioned with the cordage, one thing I think they don't do for liability is include a way for fire. Even if it's just a gas station lighter, I would have some way to produce fire. You've got plenty of material, cardboard and things like that you can help get the fire going, but I would have a way to warm yourself if you're on the side of a road waiting for rescue or whatever the case may be. You hear it every winter. People get stuck going over a mountain pass and took the wrong GPS route or whatnot. Have a way to make fire. The cordage thing, just to produce shelter, strap things to this pack. I would just add a little bit of, even if it's just a thing of twine or some sort of cordage to this. Duct tape. Duct tape is key to, you know, repair the tarp if it rips in the wind. To repair anything, I think a duct tape would be great to add. Again, if you're taking any sort of medication, it you know, offers a spot to keep some backup meds. This is something you can keep in your office for, you know, a grab and go kit that maybe you don't want to have the time to put together yourself. Still add a little bit of personalization. If you're taking anything, have the forethought to add a little extra. A radio, to find out, communication is key to an emergency, so having a radio added in here. Now obviously LifeGear makes some radios. I've reviewed some. I'll put a link up here for maybe 1 or 2 that I've done, but certainly having some sort of little transistor radio to find out what's going on, find out maybe where you need to go or what bridges are closed. You know, it's something to look into. It's curious that they primarily do a ton of flashlights, but there isn't a flashlight really in this kit other than a little flashy unit. So if you want to purchase one of theirs or add a flashlight in there, keep the battery separate and have it ready to go. Some of those transistor radios that I offer the link for are hand crank units, so you don't have to worry about batteries. That'd be something to add in here. Then you'd have a radio and a light. You know, and I would like to have a knife. There's a little tiny knife on that multi-tool. It's a personal thing. I would rather have even just a little pocket or Swiss Army knife or something like that as a little bit more insurance. That is a personal preference of mine. But some of the things that I sort of jotted down in their notebook as I was using this kit through the winter, some of the things I would like to have and seen in there during my day hikes and whatnot. This has been Beast reviewing the Wings of Life LifeGear. I appreciate your watching. Thank you so much.